Good morning, everybody. Good morning, baseball fans. Today, we have a very special day and a very special show. You see the mask. Football is over. Football is dead. Today, we're going to talk about baseball because it's February and pitchers and catchers are meeting up next week. Spring's training starts right here in February. And then we're going to get into it in March down in Arizona and Florida. So today, and a really gross day here in Vegas, but it's okay. We got plenty of great weather all the other times. So we're going to bring on a buddy of mine. You've seen some of the articles that I've been writing about the Padres. Today we're going to bring on the department head of the actual MLB writing for Overtime Heroics. His name is Ken Allison. We're going to bring him on right now to tell us a little bit about Overtime Heroics. Ken, good morning.
Good morning, Joey. You're complaining about cold weather there. It was 26 below zero when I went to bed last night up here. So hopefully you guys aren't too bad in Vegas.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just raining and a little over a cat. So, all right, let's switch to seriousness.
All right. So anyway, going back to OTH, as you said, I'm one of the MLB directors there. I actually started with them back in January of last year, so just celebrated 1 year with them. Right after I started, I was fortunate enough to be promoted to the NL Central Division leader. They subsequently did away with that position, or all those positions, and promoted me to MLB director last April. So I ran it myself for about 6 months. OTH continued to grow. They're heading for their 2-year anniversary in April or May, I guess. Since that time, I've added writers. There's, including me, the editors, and the other department head, there's probably 50 of us writing now for baseball. Site continues to grow. We're putting out a lot better content. We've gotten on with Google News now, and there's some things going on to get us connected to Bleacher Report, things like that. So overall, they've gone from this just little tiny, I want a sports website to, we're getting, more and more views every day, and guys like you are really what contributes to that.
Yeah, man, and obviously, thank you for bringing me on to Overtime Heroics. So just for the fans watching, just a little recap. OvertimeHeroics.net is it's a very large sports online resource for sports content. There's obviously a baseball division, and then Ken here has brought on a writer or two for each Major League Baseball team. And then Ken throws out topics, and then we just run with it, and we make our articles. They get edited by Ken and his staff. These guys are fantastic. And obviously, it's a little bit of like a freelance for us, you know what I mean? And if you're a fan of your team, you can really get out some of your fandom excitement, you know what I mean? In the third person, obviously. But yeah, I've actually enjoyed it. I really appreciate you guys bringing me on. I'm trying to do right by you guys and some of the great writers that you got on your staff. So
yeah. You're doing a great job so far. And in fact, if any of your listeners are interested, we are still looking for coverage for a couple of teams. Shane, it's always it's for some reason it's always the teams that do good that I lack coverage for. We have nobody for the Nationals. We have nobody for. I do believe we have a Nationals guy now. We're still looking for the Twins, and a couple other ones. I'd have to look at my list, but I'm not opposed to putting on a second writer per team as well. So if one guy is, say, at work and something breaks, then maybe the other guy can pick up that story. So we're looking to continue to build, and obviously the more content you put out, the more ad revenue you bring in, and the more ad revenue you bring in benefits everybody, in the process from the writers on up to way above my pay grade. So
absolutely. So one more time for you guys listening at home, overtimeheroics.net. That's where you can see all of our content for each Major League Baseball team. And also, you heard Ken, anybody that is a Nationals fan or the Twinkies, come on. Ken is fantastic at teaching you how to use WordPress, which is the product of how we build the articles and embed the content and all that stuff. We don't even need to talk about that. Ken will get you all set up. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. All right, so Ken is a big Cubbies fan, Chicago Cubs. And let's talk about a little bit of excitement that's coming up in the 2021 season. Obviously, I'm extremely hype about the Padres, but enough about that. We'll let Ken come in hot with, you know what, Ken, let's do this. Let's start with your favorite baseball memory, and I already think I know what it is. Go ahead, brother.
Well, I'm guessing you're going to guess the picture on my Facebook cover photo is what my guess is going to be. I started as a Twitter conversation between me and Anthony Bass, who's playing for the Marlins this year. Um, Anthony and I Twitter, to where we chatted all the time about just everything. We started off obviously baseball, then it was family, and it was our remodel on our house and fishing and this and that. But we developed a friendship, and we had the opportunity in 2019 when he was with the Mariners to be able to actually get a chance to meet in person. He had my wife and son and I out to Miller Park for a game when they were playing the Brewers. Had on-field batting practice passes and stuff, where we actually were. I was standing like, I don't know, 15 feet from Jesus Aguilar while he was taking batting practice. And, in the picture, there's, all the Mariners in the background. We took a picture with Anthony. But half the Mariners teams in the background to one side. You can see the Brewers taking batting practice to the other side. So I mean, that was obviously a pretty fond memory. Something that not a lot of people get to do, and something that I certainly would have never asked him for. I didn't become friends with a guy for free game tickets or a chance to stand on the field. It was just because he was a down to earth guy and we just got along. Um, Beyond that, I mean, I got a chance to try out for the Cubs in '86. Obviously, didn't make it, didn't figure I would. It was kind of something to add to the bucket list. And beyond that, I mean, I guess now that my dad's gone, any game that my dad ever took me to, would have been probably one of my favorite baseball memories. So,
Awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. And obviously, the Cubs, finally got over the hump after all those years and took care of business in 2016. A little bit of my connection to that World Series was I had just moved to Vegas, and at the time, my wife and I were kind of displaced. Uh, we hadn't found housing in Vegas, so we got here end of September, October timeframe. And so here was the World Series, and here's the Cubs and the Indians and these fantastic games, and like I don't have cable set up yet, and finally we got into this like rinky-dink apartment while we're waiting for our house to be built. And man, yeah, I was watching it and texting all my buddies, and what a World Series that was, man. Congrats to your boys, to the old Cubbies in 2016s for getting over the hump. I probably talked about that World Series for an entire year just because of all the Cubs fans that I know, and just gassing them up about that awesome situation, and getting them done. All right.
yeah, it was definitely something special.
Yeah, for sure. 2016, that was a while ago. So, what are the Cubbies looking like here in 2021?
I don't know that you prefer the language that I want to use, but
Family show.
well, let's just put it this way. My first article this month was entitled "2021 Chicago Cubs: A Train Wreck in the Making," and I think that uh, not that they haven't been signing guys, but I mean, you take like adding Marisnik yesterday. Okay, that was like a lateral move from Almora. I mean, if you look at the overall numbers between the two, Almora is a far better hitter over time. He just didn't get enough playing time to be able to mature his bat. I think Almora far outclasses Marisnik in center field. So, Almora goes and gets non-tendered. He winds up, just obviously signing with the Mets a few days back. And meanwhile, the Cubs are out, scouting center fielders, and they wind up taking Marisnik, who did have an awesome year at the plate last year, but his defense in center is terrible. But it seems like they're making neutral to negative moves, and the biggest one, which absolutely benefits you and your Padres, Yu Darvish and Victor Caratini for Zach Davies, and I don't remember, somewhere between 4 and 6 prospects rated between like 14 and 26. What is that?
Fleeced them. AJ.
Oh, absolutely fleeced. And then to make matters worse, I don't know. I guess it's been 3 or 4 days ago now. Um, Tom Ricketts came out and said, "I think the division's winnable. I'm going to open up the checkbook a little more for Hoyer to add some pitching." Right. This after they traded a Cy Young candidate from 2020, mind you, and a catcher who would have easily been a good fit to replace Contreras when he walks away as a free agent in, in another year or so, or a year or two. Um, and so it's like now they've got this delusion of grandeur that they're going to win the division, and they're nowhere even close. Peterson, Schwarber, Jock maybe a little better with the bat at times. Overall, I think Schwarber's career a better hitter. Schwarber's defense has improved tremendously since his knee surgery that they came back from in 2016. So it's like they seem to take a step forward and two steps back. The most exciting signing, or the signing, I should say, the signing that I can be the most excited about this year is Trevor Williams, and that's not saying a whole hell of a lot. They let 80% of the rotation walk via one method or the next. And they're replacing them with guys who don't come anywhere near close to replacing those that they let get away. Tyler Chatwood, a perfect example. I mean, Chatwood was awful with the Cubs, his first 2 years, or first year anyway. And, Tommy Hotovy came in and turned him around just as he did Darvish, and Joe Madden, unfortunately, bastardized Chatwood and buried him in the pen. Well, Chatty comes out last year as a starter, and until he got hurt, I mean, he was throwing fire. And that's a guy that they could have hung on to for cheap. I don't remember what he ended up signing for Toronto with, but it wasn't a lot of money. And certainly the Cubs could have afforded to have shelled out the $2 or $3 million on a 1-year contract with maybe a second-year option, but they didn't. They continue to have a fire sale in one second, claim to want to win the division in the next, and then take substandard players as replacements, in the next step. So nothing they're doing at 1060 West Addison makes sense. I honestly have the Cubs as a fourth place team this year, third to fourth, I guess, depending on what Cincinnati can do or doesn't do. And I think that it's gotten to the point where Cubs fans better expect that it's going to be another, well, hopefully not 108 years, but another good bunch of time before they're ready to compete. Their farm system is just barren. And that's because Theo Epstein sold his soul for 2016, which, but did the ends justify the means now that we're in 2021?
Yeah, and I tell you what, man, the grumblings are not good about old Chris Bryant right now either.
Don't even get me started there.
You guys lose him, that is not going to be good. But
they should have lost. They should have lost Chris Bryant the minute he lost the service time agreements. At that point in time, he had trade value. He had a positive WAR. He was worth something. Now, there was just a couple of weeks ago substantiated rumors that they were talking about a deal with Hendricks and Bryant to go to Toronto. So when you have to package who is now your ace with the 2016 MVP just to be able to move him, something is radically wrong. And they hung on to Bryant too long. He continues to injure himself. He continues to play the subpar offense. He batted 206 last year. And they waited way too long to move him. Now they're stuck. They're either going to let him play through the year and let him walk as a free agent because Boris is never going to let him resign with Chicago, or they end up eating even more decent players to be able to move him because his trade value is garbage.
Yeah, that's not going to be a good look. And then obviously, St. Louis, getting better with Arenado coming in and already having him and Goldie. There's a lot of offense in St. Louis.
Well, they just re-signed Molina.
Yeah. So they're keeping a lot of the core together. St. Louis is going to be tough for sure. But yeah, you said it best, man. You're the Cubs expert. But Chris Bryant, if he rolls out, That's going to leave you guys pretty thin on the offense for sure. It's going to be all up to Baez, Rizzo, and Jock Peterson, who is going to hit a home run and strike out 10 times in a row. So,
Well, David Bodie, I think, and personally, I thought that that's what they might do was take and get rid of Bryant. Um, whether that meant, getting a one-armed pitcher, two number, 85 and 86 prospects, and whatever they could get for him. Shift Bodie to third, Nico Horner at second, Baez at short, and I do think you might see some good stuff out of Nico Horner this year. He's, for a guy that skipped AAA in its entirety, um, Nico has kind of risen to the occasion, and you've got Rizzo, although there's still chatter that Rizzo could be dealt. So it's like they have, even without Bryant, they have some bit of promising look to the infield. Contreras, there's still rumors floating about him. I don't know that when Contreras needs a day off, or God forbid he gets injured, that Austin Romine is going to be half of what Victor Caratini was. And you guys got a great catcher at Caratini. That kid is young. He can hit.
switch hitter. Switch hitter.
A switch hitter. Well, in fact, the day after we went to the Brewers Mariners game, we went to Wrigley to see the Craig Kimbrell's debut, and Caratini jacked one that day. And that kid has just got a smooth swing. He's actually a better pitch framer than Contreras is, although he does not have the arm, that shotgun arm that Contreras has when it comes time for a back pick or something like that. But he's definitely improving every year. He's Darvish's personal catcher, and between the two of them, I think you're going to see good stuff out of Darvish and Caratini every fifth day.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure. That was a good trade on our end. You know what I mean? We didn't get our farm is fantastic. It's been fantastic for quite a few years now. So I've got every time we make a trade, I got my eye on about 7 to 10 guys that I don't want to see leave, and we didn't lose any of those guys. So yeah, like our season is very much looking up. But I tell you what, man, the Cubs are, you're always gonna be in it. And so actually, if you do lose Chris Bryant, I think you will get somebody who can bring onto the 26-man roster. You're gonna get a starter. I feel like it's gonna be somebody that's just didn't work out in that organization. If you're looking for a bunch of prospects to refill that depleted farm system that you mentioned, I can understand that. I can see that. But to lose a caliber player of Chris Bryant, I think you're going to need to get somebody that can fill right in and be a major league starter. But looking forward to Nico Horner. I think he's going to get a shot. He's got Baez to tutor him. Yeah, your infield is looking good. I think you guys will be okay. Maybe not exactly what you're looking for, as in running away with the division and all that kind of stuff. But baseball's tough, and yeah, you mentioned it about when you sell the soul for the trophy. Usually, you take a step back for a couple years, and that's what it is.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest mistakes the Cubs made, honestly, was not firing Madden after, I'd even go so far as to say midway in the 2018 season. But I think, if you take the history, they won it in 16. They lost the NLCS in 17. They lost the wild card game in 18. They sat home in October in 19. And that was the end of the Madden reign then.
Yeah.
But it was very evident to me that after 2016, maybe towards the end of 2017, the tail was wagging the dog. And Joe Madden has a tremendous ability to work with young players. But I think that his time and purpose in Chicago had run its course. I think that, honestly, I kind of feel like maybe Ricketts and Epstein, kind of owed it to him to let him finish out his contract, because of 2016. But in the meantime, look what happened. They continued to fade. David Ross came in and really did a hell of a job. With, his first year managing and the COVID thing going on and, losing players and having to patch, kind of do some patchwork to, copy and cut and paste a roster together. All things considered, I think Rossi did a great job. I'm just afraid that they're setting them up with for failure with the things that they're doing this winter.
Yeah, David Ross coming in. He's a fan favorite for sure, and a player favorite. Probably just got done playing. Actually, I miss him in the booth, man. I really liked him calling games. That was for sure. So then we talked about a little bit about the season. Let me go all in on the Padres real quick. I can't talk about it without like getting hype and I gotta go backwards with the hat.
As you
So
should. You guys have a lot to look forward to this year.
get on board with the Pods. Get in San Diego, baby. There's gonna be a lot of fire. There's gonna be a lot going on in the NL West this year. Every Padres Dodgers game is gonna be must-see TV. So yeah, we loaded up. We've got pitchers for days. I'd like to see a little bit more in the bullpen. If we lose Rosenthal, so we rewind a little bit with Kirby Yates signed free agency elsewhere. I believe it's Toronto. So we kind of saw that come in for a mile away, especially getting Rosenthal. Rosenthal is a good closer. I don't know why we haven't gotten a hold. I don't know why we haven't tied him down yet. But if he walks, then we're going to be a little light on the back end in the late innings of games. And
yeah, but you've got such a strong rotation. I mean,
yes.
looking through those names, if San Diego wanted to run a 6-man rotation, you absolutely have the manpower to do it. And if those guys can chew up 5 and 6 innings a game, where you can bring in, a middle reliever, who can hold down the fort for 2 innings, especially with the offensive power that you guys are bringing this year.
Yeah.
Not that a closer isn't obviously an important person to a team, because you got to be able to build a run, a good amount of runs in the lead to not need him. But if San Diego can generate the offense that I really think they have the potential of generating this year, I don't think your closer is going to be nearly as important as what it may be for, a team like the Brewers or maybe the Rockies or the Jays, but I think you guys have every right to be fired up because I was just looking through the depth chart before we started the show and it's just like, holy mackerel. And they signed so many players this year. I can't even keep track of who they signed, So you guys in the Mets, Steve Cohen got in there and he did the same thing on the opposite side of the country, that you guys are doing down in San Diego, and that's, building a team.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to bringing on the Korean player as well, Ha-Sung Kim, I think that's how you say it. He's an infielder. Our infield is pretty loaded, so that's probably going to move my boy Jake Cronenworth to the outfield, and he's okay with that. And then him and Profar will just platoon all over the place. They'll play lefty righty advantages. It's an amazing opportunity for Tingler. That's a good problem to have, all those hitters, and then starters that are going to be on the bench to come and pinch hit for the pitchers once those opportunities come up as well. So absolutely looking forward to it. I'm glued to the website to see if we get fans in there because San Diego's only a 5-hour drive from here. So I'd love to get into the stadium and watch opening day if I can. But right now that ain't happening, but it's all good. Yeah, super pumped as a Padres fan, putting stuff on the wall, repping. Got my Lucha Libre hat. So y'all want to know the story about this thing?
I do not.
So, long story short, my cousin Miles so I got a lot of family in San Diego. That's why I'm a big Padres fan, even though I'm from Arizona. But so my cousin was a paramedic and in San Diego, and he used to work in the stadium during the hot day games, and he would drop IVs for people having too many beers or just getting sick in the stadium. So he was a paramedic inside the stadium for a couple years. And so one day, like, he sends me this text of this picture as I'm on my way to FanFest. So I'm driving from Vegas to San Diego to go to FanFest, which is, it's actually about this time of year, like a month before anything. It's like right at the end of spring training. and they have a fan fest, and they hit home runs in the batting practice, and the fans can catch the home runs, and there's food, there's beers, there's meet and greets, there's pictures. It's you know what a fan fest looks like.
Of course.
Yeah, and so he sends me this text, and it's a picture of this thing. He found it laying in the paramedic room. So I'm like, wait, I'm not putting that on my face, man. That needs to be washed. And he's like, no, it's brand new. It's brand new. So I have a video somewhere of me at FanFest in left field, rocking this thing and catching home runs from batting practice. It
Nice.
was awesome. So
Nice.
I haven't worn it since that day. That was like 3 years ago. So that was for you, Ken, and that's for the viewers out there. My Lucha Libre hat for the Padres. All right, so
Have you?
go ahead.
I was going to ask you, have you seen Pacoda's predictions for the year yet?
What's that?
Have you seen Pacoda's predictions for the year yet?
I have not.
They were in my Cubs Corner article yesterday.
Okay.
And just so you know, they have San Diego finishing 7 or 8 games behind LA this year. I can't see it. And if you look at some of these other picks they have the Cubs finishing second in their division, and some of these things, and more often than not, this is actually kind of what I wrote in the article. More often than not, Pacoda's closer to being right than they are wrong most of the time. But this year, I think somebody got in the liquor cabinet before they started making predictions, because if you look at these things, they are so out of whack. And the gaps, I mean, like, even if the Dodgers can top your Padres this year, I see that being a 2 to 3 game race,
Yeah.
right? Not 7 or 8 games. Like, I think it was like 7.3 or something, if I remember right. No way the Cubs are a second place team, none. And there are so many weird gaps, that make no sense, and obviously that's all computer, it's all, algorithms and things that are, much, brighter than we are, that figure these things out. But just the fact that they had San Diego finishing that far behind the Dodgers was just, was I don't want to say amazing, but astonishing, I guess would be a better word. But yeah, you'll have to check it out. It's in my Cubs Corner article from yesterday. Yeah, they've actually got your Padres finishing second. I honestly think the Dodgers are going to have every minute of their hands full trying to put any bit of distance between themselves and San Diego. The Friars are, the Friars are in it.
No,
So
I agree, man. And like, I know, I'm trying to, keep my expectations realistic, but absolutely, I agree with you 100%. Am I silly to think that we have a shot at winning the division? I would say at this point, no, just because like the Dodgers are the Dodgers. They're going to win 100 games. They're going to do what they do. They're a loaded baseball team with some pretty solid coaching. Dave Roberts gets a hard time, but I think he's actually the guy that needs to be there. He's gotten a hard time about some of those shortcomings in the World Series and with these loaded teams, but they're all going to bed now. He took care of it, even though it was a 60-game season. They took care of it. They raised the trophy. They lost some. They're gonna lose Turner, and they lost Kike Hernandez.
and Jock Peterson.
Yeah, Jock Peterson. Those are kind of like the glue guys. They weren't real. They weren't like your staples of that team or that lineup. So
No, but those are the guys. Those are the guys that kept the inning going.
yes,
You might not expect Jack Peterson to go up and stroke 35 home runs a year,
yeah,
but he's the guy that that was able to maybe draw the walk or advance a runner with a sac fly or something, to be able to keep that inning going for him. I think just out of the lot that you mentioned, I think definitely Justin Turner and Kike Hernandez were a more integral part of their offense, but I think honestly losing Turner, I think that's going to sting a little bit.
yeah.
So
No, I agree. He's been there a while. He's a really good third baseman, and also he he has a clutch factor. He has a major clutch factor. Like that dude is always ripping a ball down to the third base line into the gap when they need it the most. And back to Kike Hernandez, he was a spark plug for them. Speaking of like drawing a walk, like that dude was always on base with like 2 outs in a tough situation, and then he'd be a stolen base threat. So like, yeah, I'm not sad to see those dudes go. But and I'll take it. Like I'll take, whatever the Dodgers organization wants to do to tear down that team and can't afford it anymore. I'm loving every minute of it.
Yeah.
We talked about our teams for a little bit, and a lot of excitement in the upcoming season for sure. We're still about a month and a half away. But one of the main topics of conversation that has come up recently in the baseball world is we're keeping a couple of these rules in place. We nixed one of them, right? DH is going away for the NL this year. But the 7 inning doubleheader and the man on second rule in extra innings is still in play. I'm actually a pretty big fan of the man on second, and I'll explain why right after you tell me your hot take on how you feel about those two rules staying in place this year in 21.
I have two little words to describe both of them. Little league. Okay, these are professional ball players who play 9 inning games. They have played 9 inning doubleheaders for as long as I can remember, and long before my time. This runner on second thing is absolutely stupid. It's all about Rob Manfred's pace of play because we're trying to appease a new baseball generation who has the attention span of a gnat. Meanwhile, Manfred's agenda, like I said, it's all about speeding up the game, right? Well, I mean, they've even gone so far as to shorten commercial breaks, and everything else because people can't seem to pay attention, to a 9 inning game. Okay. Now, yes, when you take your average 3.5 hour ball game, add in the intermission between the doubleheader and then play the next 3.5, 4 hours, it is a long day. You're talking about an 8 hour day, 8 hour plus day, depending on what transpires during the game. All right. But 9 innings is the way Major League Baseball was meant to be. Little leaguers play 7 innings. Okay. This runner on second thing, um, easier said than done, but you pop a runner on second. All right. Quick sack fly, you got him to third, another sack fly, he scores. Or any one of a number, butt him over to third and then a sack fly and he scores. Okay. And then the whole weird thing about this to me is you and I were chatting a little bit last night. Let's say, I make the last out, in the bottom of the ninth and we go into extras. So now I am now the designated runner on second base. Okay. So does that count into my OPS? Because I am on base. If I score a run, does it count as a run scored? I shouldn't have even been there. I made the last out.
Yeah.
So to me, the whole system is flawed. I don't think it speeds up the games. Um, and if you're gonna do that, why not just let's start with a runner on third? Or why not say that a guy can only throw fastballs down the plate in extra innings, and you can't throw any breaking balls or sliders or anything else. Hell, let's just make it a home run derby for the 10th inning. Get out there and throw batting practice type pitches, and whoever cranks the most home runs, in the 10th inning wins the game. I mean, to me, it just reeks of um, I don't know. I'm 55 years old. I've been watching this game a long, long time, and this to me is not baseball. And the same group of people that Manfred is trying to attract with all of his new rules. First of all, the numbers aren't going up at all. The attendance isn't going up at all. Meanwhile, he's pushing purists away from the game because they don't even recognize it as the same game, that they used to watch and enjoy. To me, it's all a bunch of just crap.
Ken. I hear you, man. You're a purist. You're the old guard. I get it. But let me take care of this real quick. All right. So I get it. All your points extremely valid, and I also smallly, feel that way as well. But here's I don't care about trying to get more people to watch baseball. I don't really care about that. That's Manfred's deal. Here's what I would like to see. And here's what I do know about a grueling 162 baseball season is that we should not be watching baseball on a Tuesday at 4 in the morning. All right. Like, this is just ridiculous. Like, if you pay to go to a game as a fan and to watch a baseball game for 9 innings and it goes inning after inning after inning into the extra innings. We're talking about people who paid money to go to a game and then have to work the next day, most likely. So I just, and these dudes, like, like, what about a road game, right? You go on the road from Atlanta to San Diego if you're the Cubbies, and you've got to play an 18-inning marathon on a Monday night just to wake up in the morning 6 hours later, 4 hours later, what have you, to get ready and go to the ballpark and do it all over again, because nothing is saying that that game cannot get into extra innings again. So listen, the game could use a little bit of excitement. All right. And so, like, let's get it over with though. And I know a lot of people don't know like that, but like, a lot of other sports are doing it, right? And I'm not saying bring ties into baseball, but like, hockey gets it over and done with. It's a regular season game. It's Wednesday night. It's Thursday night. People got to go home. Players got to go to bed. Players got to recover mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever you want to call it. These dudes are playing baseball games that one game out of 162 that doesn't mean anything, so to speak. It's going into the 17th inning, 16th inning. That's ridiculously, but also here's another point. So man on second, right? I'm not even worried about the the OPS of a guy on second. I think it creates excitement. You're not just starting over. You had 9 innings to drive in runs and get to where you needed to be. Get a man on second, and I don't want to use the term speed it up, but like, it's going to cause excitement. There's a lot of strategy that can be done with a man on second and no outs. You can bunt, you can sacrifice, you can pinch run, you can do a lot of different things. And I think that is actually good for the game. Fans are going to be engaged, because I tell you what, if I'm at a game, it's the 9th inning and my boys let me down in the bottom of the 9th, we're going to go into the top of the 10th, and possibly the bottom of the 10th. Like, I want some excitement, just like a shootout in hockey, just like the extra, the
Okay,
overtime.
so why don't we just start every inning with a man on second then?
No, no, no,
Because
no, no.
that's
Come
gonna,
on. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
because that's gonna create more runs. Because every inning now you got a man on second base. So your leadoff man, just put him right to second base. Every inning. It's the same difference. And as far as the double headers are concerned, and the length of the games, I remember a game back in the 70s, mid 70s maybe. I want to say it was the Cubs and the Phillies. I'm not completely sure. This is long before Wrigley had lights. All right. That game was a 22 or 23 inning game, something to that effect. Right. And I mean, they had to postpone it due to darkness and continue it the next day. Okay. But that was like, you're in the middle of the NASCAR race on a Sunday, and it starts, raining, cats and dogs at Daytona, and they can't drive the track. So then Monday they continue the game. Well, those guys have got to get that equipment packed up. They've got to get back to Charlotte. They've got to get new cars, and their next setups for their next race. It's all part of the game, and if they're going to do, or what about, the team, obviously you can't say half in baseball, I mean, it's innings, but what if you've got one of those second half type baseball teams who plays better in the back four or the back 5 innings, right? Well, now you've cut that, their ability to warm up, and play harder, or better, or be more productive in innings, say 5 through 9. Right now you've only given them 2 innings, to do what they specialize in, and that's maybe start slow, give up a little bit of a lead, but then come on strong in the second half. Okay. What about the games that aren't supposed to be double headers, but there's a rain out at Wrigley and we're getting later in the season. So now we have to make tomorrow a double header. So now instead of 2 9 inning games, we're playing 2 7 inning games for the Cubs, again, hypothetically, as a team who is a second half team, who's going to lose more opportunities to score. I think it's ridiculous. I think if they're going to do anything to shorten a doubleheader, Then they play 9 innings the first game, and they play 7 the second game. They don't make it a pair of 7 inning games. You get one normal game, and if it's say like a rain delay makeup or whatever, then the second game is a 7 inning doubleheader. Okay, but these guys have been doing this for 100 plus years. They're no stranger to rough travel days, and short sleep sometimes and whatever. And if Darvish goes out and throws 6 innings today, and it's let's say a doubleheader or whatever, or let's say just a single game that goes into regular extra innings and goes long. Okay, he's still not going to pitch for the next 4 days, right? So is it going to be harder on your infielders, maybe your outfielders, especially maybe taxing your bullpen a little bit? Yeah, that's going to be the case. Okay, but that's always been the case, and it shouldn't change just because Manfred wants to play the game quicker. Okay, I don't know if you golf or not. All right, but people that go out and golf, they don't want to go out and shoot 18 holes in 2 hours. They want to go out there and enjoy that 4 hour stroll. Play their 18 holes, take in the scenery, take in the weather. Whatever they do. But that's the gist of it. I mean, and what you're suggesting to me with this runner on second and things. That's like saying, well, 18 holes, that's an awful long time, so why don't we just say from the 10th hole on, we start with a chip shot, from 100 foot off the green. It's the same difference.
No,
It's the same difference. Yes, it is.
no,
Yes, it
because
is.
no, because 10 holes is not the end of the 18. It's not the end of the game. It's not. All right. So nice point. Good point. Let me raise you this though. In golf, in a professional setting in a tournament, what do they do if there's a tie after 18 holes? What do? They have a hole off. They have a hole off, right? The next hole, and they go until it's finished, right? But it could end like, you know what I mean? Like, so they went the whole 18 holes without having that advantage. And then it's like, hey, buck up, buddy. Let's go. Who wins the next hole wins the entire tournament. That's excitement. That's how you get it done. That's how you wrap it up.
Okay, so then in that case, why not just say we add 3 innings to the ball game, right? Maximum of 12 innings. If it ends in a tie, then it ends in a tie, just like football, just like hockey, you know, and add the tie factor in there. Well, of course, then you're going to have to probably tweak, the system being more of a point system than you are, a win loss, type of thing. Well, I'm saying, the Cubs are 3.5 games ahead of the Reds. Well, then it's the Cubs have X amount of points and the Reds have X amount of points because you're going to get 2 points for a win and 1 point for a tie, or something to that effect. But there are a million ways to tweak the game without um, without changing it so dramatically that um, you don't recognize it anymore. Now, a lot of the rules that Manfred came out with, the DH, again, I am a National League fan, um, predominantly, and that's because I enjoy the fact that I'd love to see a guy like Jake Arrieta or Carlos Zambrano get up there and rip a home run. Lester hit one a couple of years ago. DeSclafani is good. Lorenzen's good.
Yeah.
I like to see pitchers be able to hit. You didn't get a DH in Little League. You didn't get a DH in high school. I don't think they have DHs in college. You know, um, so why not? That's part of the game. You play offense and you play defense. Unlike well, much like hockey, where you play both. When you're on the ice. Or basketball, where you play both when you're on the ice. I like that aspect. Now, having said that, I actually came to really enjoy the DH role this past year. I thought, hey, this is great. The Cubs have a rally coming up, and there's 2 outs and the pitcher spot is up, but we don't have to worry about you Darvish hitting. Right now it's going to be Victor Caratini because he's DHing today. Or well, if Darvish pitching, that wouldn't be the case. Contreras DH probably, but I like that aspect of the game. But yet I didn't mind. I thought maybe this isn't all bad. This part of the game, the 3 pitcher minimum, I didn't care for.
Yeah, I agree with
But
you.
after watching and kind of talking to Anthony Bass and his opinions about it and everything else, I kind of take in what he has to say and apply it. And his position to me was, we're all professional baseball pitchers. It shouldn't matter what side of the plate a guy's standing at. You should be able to face three batters. He said, I'm all for that rule. Where a lot of pitchers complained about it because you're doing away with the specialists and, and things like that, in effect is they have to face three batters. So some of the things Manfred has done, I'm not opposed to. And I honestly, I just saw something the other day. I could have sworn that they were saying now they're talking about the DH coming back for this year again. So and if I may have misread, I was reading quick, just scrolling through my Twitter feed. But if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. That rule's fine either way. But to me, the the pace of play rules, um, the runner on second, the 7 inning double headers. Well, I guess to some extent the three batter minimum, which I said I'm not opposed to, but it's the pace of play rules that are affecting the foundation of the game, and it's kind of like Abner Doubleday's rules to baseball were kind of like the Constitution. We just don't go today and go, well, we don't like this in the Constitution, so we're just going to change it and make it read this instead, or we're going to allow people to do this instead of what To me, baseball is it's still America's pastime. It's a game that's taken 100+ years to develop, into what it's become, and it's not becoming or continuing to become something great. But I don't think that the changes Rob Manfred is instituting are the way to fix the game. Now, I chatted with a new writer last night. What I find intriguing is Theo Epstein now entering the commissioner's office as a consultant. Okay. Theo left the Cubs. I have it on good authority that he left the Cubs a year early because he knew the big blow up was coming and didn't want to see all of his work just destroyed like that. He stuck around through the COVID thing and all the layoffs and all the furloughs and all the bad news he had to break to employees. But yeah, when it came time to dismantle that team the way they've done it, he was gone. And his objective was to take a year off this year, spend time with family, look to come back next year in some capacity, quote, potentially as a part team owner. Okay. Well, it's not every day there's part of a team up for sale. All right. Well, it didn't take 2 months. And then they announced that he's going to be consulting for Rob Manfred this year. And his primary job is to, quote, help MLB put a better product on the field. Okay. My first question to you, isn't that the commissioner's job to put a better product on the field? Right. And now Theo Epstein is consulting for Rob Manfred, which tells me, A, Manfred knows he's not doing something right and he's losing ground. And it also tells me you better watch out because Theo Epstein, well, I mean, I'm happy with it, but Theo Epstein is going to be your next MLB commissioner.
Good. I mean, if that's who he wants to tab as the successor, it's not a bad idea. But like, I'll reach back to the rules changing. Like, no, your points are right on, man. I'll have a lot of these conversations with people, and nobody is wrong, right? Like, you like what you like, you enjoy what you enjoy. I feel like but for me, my opinion is just like the game should, it should never stay stagnant, so to speak. I know baseball purists want it to be like it was in the 1900s, and like I just feel like. I just feel like that's not how things are going to go, right? The game needs to evolve. It needs to tweak and change just a little bit to stay exciting and still be the beautiful game that we currently love. So I'm with you on the three innings with the pitchers. I thought that was a really weird rule, and that doesn't. I mean, I guess
not 3 innings.
No, three. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, 3 batters. Yeah, I just think that's extremely weird. But yeah, and it does take away from the specialists and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think that is part of the game. Having a guy that's a lefty on lefty specialist, a righty versus righty specialist, or what have you, pitches to contact, pitches to the ground ball, just stuff like that. That's also part of the game. Those are the adjustments that you need to make on the roster. So Look, Ken, thanks for coming on, man. Like we talked about a lot of stuff. We covered a lot of ground in baseball. Like we talked about the Cubbies and what's going on with them. And yeah, I think they'll be okay. You know, you might not be super excited to see where they end up, but I don't think it's all for none. And I think Brian will stay unless there's a deal that just can't be denied. Obviously,
Well,
I'm super,
any deal can be denied for Bryant, but
yeah, and I'm super excited about the Padres. We talked a little bit about the rules and the rule changes, but if you want to hear more and see more about Ken, you can find him at Ken Allison. That is KenAllison 18 on Twitter. And obviously, please visit overtimeheroics.net. Not only is there baseball content on there, but there's football content, basketball content, and hockey. So I am Joey Q. I am the real Joey Q 34 on Twitter, and that is going to do it. Go Padres, go Cubs. Baseball season is here, and we're super excited. See you all next time.
thanks, Chuck.
Got it, buddy.